A lot of people have been voicing some pretty serious concerns over the Gold Coast Waterways Authority's latest call for people to have their say about a feasibility study they've commissioned for Wavebreak Island. Save Our Spit shares those concerns. Whilst glossy and slick-looking, the feasibility study document is permeated with a notable lack of detail. According to the Waterways Authority's own earlier documentation, the end result of their feasibility study, produced by Mosaic Insights, seems to have completely ignored their own terms of reference. As prescribed earlier by the Waterways Authority, the feasibility study was supposed to be, 1, consistent with the Spit Master Plan intent and community expectations from that process, and 2, consistent with the designated purposes of the trust land, for example, beach protection and coastal management. Whilst the Spit Master Plan did identify mixed levels of support for things like a toilet facility, walking tracks, and even the possibility of a small-scale camping ground on the island, it's the mysterious inclusion of a fixed accommodation cabin development and significantly inflated camping facilities occupying the center area, which have now been foisted onto Wavebreak Island, which has set off alarm bells for the community. To be crystal clear, cabins and permanent accommodation structures were absolutely not an accepted outcome delivered by the Spit Master Plan process. Wavebreak Island is defined in the Spit Master Plan quite specifically as the following. The land use of Wavebreak Island is environmental protection, accommodating low-impact recreation, and camping facilities. The character of both islands, Curlew and Wavebreak, is of a natural island setting in which landscape values dominate. The master plan is unambiguous in affirming that built elements are limited to toilet facilities and shade structures on Wavebreak Island, which have the appearance of lightweight, single-story structures set in a coastal context. It clearly states in the master plan the intent for Wavebreak Island limits its use, and that no permanent built structures such as cabins or accommodation are to be built there. It really couldn't be more explicit and clear. The master plan not only does not include eco-cabins, it specifically rules them out. The master plan also describes the intent of any possible camping site, stating, camping facilities on Wavebreak Island are small-scale and restricted to one area on the island to enable use to be appropriately managed. That area for any possible camping is supposed to be a small site at the northern tip of the island, a site with no permanent accommodation.
Wavebreak and Curlew Islands will provide a natural retreat in the heart of the Broadwater, with day use areas, a small camping area, viewing platform and jetty, and an underwater attraction for diving and snorkeling.
This new feasibility study now has much larger camping grounds plonked in the center of the island, consuming a large percentage of the island's eastern and central mass. It has morphed from small-scale and low-impact into a large-scale campsite development, complete with powered sites. There's absolutely nothing small-scale or low-impact about it. Other inflations have occurred. There's now a shop, or rather they call it a kiosk, along with this so-called ecotourism precinct, which appears bloated and has been loosely mapped out. The developments and ideas seem to far exceed the scale and scope, trashing the prescribed mandate and intent of the Spit Master Plan. Keep in mind that the Master Plan represents an enormous years-long consultative process, which derived its outcomes from a wide range of interests and views, from commercial and business input to stakeholders such as indigenous bodies, governments, council and community groups. And of course, the main stakeholders involved were you. Yes, you, the public, whose input and public say shaped the Master Plan. The proposals trash the established intent for the area. Save Our Spit can now reveal some of the results of the final Spit Master Plan consultation processes undertaken by engagement and communication firm Articulus, showing clear rejection of not only cabins, but also next to no support for camping. In fact, of all the ideas floated for Wavebreak Island, camping and overnight stays polled with the lowest response, dead last, with jetties and ferries and things like dive sculptures also performing poorly. This was literally the broadest and deepest community consultation process in Queensland's history, a process which resulted in the final Spit Master Plan 2019. Gaining support were items such as continuing environmental protection, some day use facilities like a toilet and a couple of picnic tables, as well as strong support for proper protection of Curlew Island. The consultation process was enormous and thorough, and it generated over 23,000 pieces of quantifiable feedback. The process set new consultation benchmarks in the industry and went on to win multiple state and national awards from the Planning Institute of Australia for undertaking and delivering, quote, a master plan developed by the community and for the community.
The award of planning excellence goes to the SPIT Master Plan, Conflict to Consensus, Department of State Development, Manufacturing and Infrastructure and Planning in Queensland.
I just want to say thank you very much, Pia, for recognising all of the hard work that went into the consultation and engagement for the SPIT Master Plan and for this national award.
And that incredible award-winning document, already created by and for the people, now appears to be getting rewritten by someone else. We can only speculate as to the who's and the whys of what's driving this push to subvert and ignore the master plan. The SPIT Master Plan outcomes and intent is at complete loggerheads with a recent statement from the Waterways Authority CEO, 𝙬𝙖𝙩𝙘𝙝, who, in an article published on September 8th on InDaily, claimed that the draft study has been guided by the community's aspirations identified in the SPIT Master Plan, with minor changes such as trial cabins to test viability of overnight stays. One look at the feasibility document quickly determines two very opposing facts. One, these changes are neither minor, as 𝙬𝙘𝙗 inexplicably claims, and two, nor do they appear at all to be guided by the SPIT Master Plan process and outcomes. What's also extremely alarming, which we found within the current feasibility document, is that almost hidden in a couple of bits of tiny text, it admits the plan is for this eco-cabin precinct to be funded by and built by a private accommodation provider. In other words, yet another push for a private commercial developer to be granted access to take over and develop their own commercial structures on public Crown land. Will there be fences? Will it be private property? Who even knows? Other items in the feasibility document include things like dredging the Western Channel, which on face value seems like a great idea. However, they have failed to provide any detail about the potential impacts to the environment, no studies into how it may affect marine species or birds, just another bubble idea without any detail provided. The current Waterways Authority feasibility study and survey neglects to provide any detailed information about what is actually proposed for the bulk of its plans. It fails to provide any information about potential risks or damage to the amenity and uncrowded value of the island. It's critically important you get online and complete the Waterways Authority survey as soon as possible, because time is running out and it closes soon. But before you do, it is super important that you read about the significant problems with the survey. We've listed them here, along with this video post. The survey format has serious flaws which could force respondents into appearing to support things that they are actually strongly opposed to. We're not sure which unpaid intern wrote it up, but the survey questions and its format are truly one of the greatest examples of go home and do it again. Make sure you use the last comment section to clearly articulate which parts you support, and especially which proposed changes you oppose. And be sure to refer to the master plan intent and its outcomes to strengthen your arguments. Keep it polite, but pointed. We've attached some useful links here as well, along with an email address you can use if you'd like to make a more detailed formal submission. Save Our Spit is strongly opposed to the trashing of the SPIT Master Plan, and will continue to expose and oppose proposals which seek to subvert and ignore the community-driven outcomes of that important legislated document.